Coach, at this, I guess, the halfway point of the conference season, how would you assess the team's performance so far based on how everything's happened this year?
I attack everything, Chris, from a how do we get better standpoint. I just get consumed by that. I mean, that consumes me more than anything. I'm not really one to sit back and, what we're good at, we should be good at. We work at that. What we're not doing as well, I tend to focus on those things. And I think that's how we get better as the season goes on. We don't give any medals out around here for doing what you're supposed to do. That's your job. Do your job. But, last night, I just thought our point guard play, in the point guard play is through my lens and the things that I want our point guard to do. I remember when I was a grad assistant at Michigan State under Jud Heathcote. I love Jud. He really shaped me in a lot of ways. When we used to have basketball camps where they're overnight camps, at Washington State, we'd have 400 kids a week for 5 weeks. At Oklahoma, we'd have 250, 300 kids in those camps. But at Michigan State, Jud would walk around camp. That's when they had clipboards, not folders, the old clipboards. No such thing as a backpack back then. You had a briefcase. But Jud would walk around with a whistle around his neck with his clipboard, and he'd watch the camp games. The little kids were the rookies, the middle school kids were the minors, and the older kids were the majors. And he walked gym to gym. The commissioners, I was the commissioner, I think, of the minors. Tom Izzo was the commissioner. We were all young guys back then. And Tom Izzo was the commissioner of one of the other leagues. But Jud would walk into your gym where you would be running your games, and he'd evaluate the referees. If the referees didn't run from one end to the other, and the referees were the other coaches in camp. And if you weren't running end-to-end refereeing and putting energy referees, Jud would blow the whistle, stop the game. Right in the middle of the summer, 12-year-olds playing against each other, Jud would blow the whistle. Hey, you got to hustle. You got to hustle. Don't stand at half court and call one end. Now you run the other end and you referee in this end. Jud would make those referees run end to end. But you know what his biggest peeve was basketball 101. When the ball is shot, the point guard has to get back. And Jud would have been disappointed in me last night, because when the ball was shot, our point guard did not get back. So when I say our point guard play has to improve, that's one of the areas. I get it. You're up 30 at halftime. The hardest thing to do is to play good the second half. As the other team, and they got good guards, Watson and Forbes and Walker, played off the whole second half, and that was smart by Ron because they'd been on COVID. Because I remember when we came out of COVID and played that stretch of Temple at home, Central Florida on the road, Tulsa on the road. Then we came home and played somebody else. Who was it? We had a 4-game stretch there where we were coming out of COVID. It's just different when your kids haven't played for 10 days and trying to measure their cardiovascular, getting back, getting their wind back, all that stuff. But, I was smart just letting the starters play, but you're going to get your subs and bench guys in there. And, but, regardless of how they play, you got to do basketball 101, right, Jud? Ball goes up, the point guard's got to get back. Referees got to hustle in camp games. That just shaped my mindset. And the other thing I loved about him, and I did this for years and years and years, is Jud would do bed check every night on those campers. He'd go to every room. But blew the whistle, 11 o'clock, you had to be in your bed, lights out. And Jud would do bed check. And so when Kelvin Sampson started running camps, I did what Jud did. I always checked the beds. I made sure the referees hustled. And if I saw a camp game going on that the point guard didn't get back, I blew the whistle. Point guard's got to get back, basketball 101. So we got a D plus last night in basketball 101. For some reason, our point guard didn't get back, but I think our freshman Shed, that's not high on his priority list yet.
Thank you. We'll go to Greg Bailey from KTRK. Greg, go ahead, please, sir.
Hey, Kelvin, good morning. How did Cameron Tyson end up with you guys? Were you aware of him as a high school player?
Oh, you guys know Cameron Tyson now.
Yeah.
Oh, God, I hadn't heard his name and since he's been here. You guys, I mean, it's his second year, and here we are on January 28th of 2021. I'm getting some Cameron Tyson questions. Where did he come from? How'd you get him?
Yeah. Well, I mean, when he smacks me across the head.
That's a shock that I'm going to get Cameron Tyson questions today. Well, let's start where he's from. He's from state of Washington, on the over around Everett, Mount Vernon, north of Seattle. And I lived in Washington for 9 years, so I know that state well. But he signed with Idaho. From Pullman, Washington to Seattle, Washington is 288 miles driving. The state of Washington is separated by the Cascade Mountains. West of the Cascade Mountains, it rains a lot. East of the Cascade Mountains, where Pullman and Moscow, Idaho are, from Pullman, Washington, to Moscow, Idaho is 7 miles. It's called the Pullman-Moscow Highway. So Cam went to school at Idaho. His freshman year, he shot over 40% from the three, and he made 105 threes. We were actually looking at film on a team that we were playing in non-conference. Don't remember who it was. And one of my video interns said, "Coach, there's a kid that just put on our radar that we knew was transferring. Word was out that he was transferring. Cameron Tyson." And we looked at him, and he was a good shooter. So he came here and redshirted a year. But then, after he came, then things happened. We signed Tremont Mark, Quentin Grimes transferred. So, basketball happened to him. Our program is, we've improved a lot over the years, and but I'm glad that Cam got a chance to show what he can do. But he's still a sophomore, and he'll be a sophomore next year. It's not like he's dying on the vine here. I mean, that kid's been getting better in practice. But Copeman, he's another COVID casualty, as is a lot of our kids. And I don't know. I didn't know how to deal with that. I just followed the advice of our. If it were to happen again next year, a lot of coaches would be more educated on handling these kids when they come out of COVID. It's not easy. Because they all react to it differently. It affects them all differently. Some of them remain asymptomatic. Some of them become symptomatic. And the kids that become symptomatic are the kids that you worry about the most. You'd have a tendency to treat them with kid gloves because we want to make sure we keep them healthy. These kids have mothers and fathers we're accountable to. So, but the two kids I think that it affected the most was Cam and Tremont. Those two kids were they were symptomatic. We had some kids that were just asymptomatic, and it didn't bother them at all. Then we had some kids that had a tough reaction to it. So he was out for a while. First semester, was just a zoo for everybody. While we started off with a tough schedule. Lamar. coming into the season, I think a lot of people thought would be pretty good, but they had some key guys out. So that was a role game. Then we played Boise State. Boise State was good, but so were we. I mean, we were good. I mean, you're starting Marcus, Dejan, Quentin in the backcourt, and now you're coming off the bench with Caleb Mills. You know, you got Caleb Mills, you got Marcus Sasser, you got Quentin Grimes, you got Dejan Giro, you got Tremont Martin. Those were our top 5 guards. And Tremont, Cam just was not in the top 5. It's not that he wasn't a good player, it's that our top 5 guards are really good. And then the opening for him came when Caleb transferred. That opened up a spot. And that's why he's been getting time in these games. But, you know, he's kept himself ready to play. While the games were going on and he wasn't in the main rotation, that didn't stop him from practicing and preparing and living in this gym. We got a lot of good gym rats. You know, gym rats is like cold weather. You know, if it gets to 38, 39 degrees around here, you know, you might as well be in the Arctic the way these people act. 38, 39 degrees in Butte, Montana is let's get to the park and fling the Frisbee around, fellas. It's a nice sunny day. And so I say the same thing. I compare gym rats to light weather. Some people think gym rats is this, and then there's another level to gym rats. And that's where I would put Cameron Tyson. He's a high-level gym rat. He loves to practice. I love to come up here on Sunday mornings because I know nobody's going to be tugging at my shirt, want me to do something, meetings, player, whatever. But boy, when I'm up here on Sunday mornings, Damian Dotson, Wes Van Beck, Cameron Tyson, Quentin Grimes, Marcus Sasser, those have been our best gym rats. And Cam Tyson's right there. I'm not sure I'd put him with Damian Dotson. Damian Dotson, when I leave here, I'm gonna take a little plaque and put in the bottom of the molding in that gym. Just say, Damian Dotson was developed in this gym. But Cameron Tyson has kept himself ready. And when people ask me about can you imagine not having the facility? Think of it wasn't until 2014 we got this facility. Think about the gym rats that never had an opportunity before we got here. You know, this facility, our kids have access to it 24/7, 365. This is their develop, and we, you know, our administration wanted to call it a practice facility, and they said it's not a practice facility, it's a development center. This is where you develop your game. And Cameron Tyson's taking advantage of it.
Coach, just quickly, I used to work in Seattle. Your knowledge of the miles is much better than mine.
Yeah, well, you didn't get fogged in that SeaTac airport 50 times, have to rent a car and drive to Pullman. I'm got a lot of experience at that.
Thanks, Coach.
You worked in Seattle, though?
What's that?
You worked in Seattle?
I did at King 5 Television.
Big time. That's a big market. King 5 is big over there.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Greg. We'll go to Randy McElvoy with KPRC. Greg, Randy, go ahead.
Hey, Jeff. Hey, Kelvin. Good morning. Hey, want to ask you, and then if you've addressed it, I hopped on late, so I don't know if you addressed it last night or today. I was curious on the status of Grimes going into Sunday's game, and is he expecting him back or is he out? I didn't know what the status was, but
no, we expect him back. We expect him back.
Okay. You expect him back. And then my second question was just getting in a little bit of SMU and the matchups you see with those guys and going into that one on Sunday, facing those guys. Do you like the matchups and what stands out from their side?
Well, we've already, you know, the good thing about playing someone the second time is, you know, the matchups. You know, we played these guys twice last year. We played them once already this year. It's the same cast of characters for us and for them. You know, that offense is as good as anybody's. It starts with Kendrick Davis. I think I'm pretty sure I said this the last time. They have the best offense in the league because they have the best combination of everything point guard in the league, and KD. I just think he's outstanding. So he's like a warm blanket in the winter for a coach. You know, he's just a big security blanket. And then their size, you know, Ferran Hunt starts at the 3. He's 6'8", probably 7-foot wingspan. Ane is starting to play better. 6'11", leads the league in shot blocks. JC, much improved from last year. Another 6'10", 6'11" guy, Chargois. Kind of a Swiss Army knife for them. Can play the 4, the 5, makes threes, good passer, good feel for the game. So they're 6'8", 6'9", 7 foot, 6'10". You know, their size is always a factor. And then KD, and then their ancillary parts, Bandamel. The biggest difference this time and last time is Jolly. They've got Tyson Jolly back, and he really played well against us last year. So a lot of respect for SMU. Very, very talented team, very good offensive team. They rebounded, they defend. They're a good team, you know, but like I said, they know us and we know them. And we've played them, you know, we've already played them in their gym. So that helps both teams to have that familiarity, I think.
Thank you, Randy. Are
Thanks,
there any questions for Coach? I don't see any hands raised here. They got Chris Gardner. Chris, go ahead.
Coach, if you can, how much has technology changed in your career to help prepare for opponents and help you coach your own team?
Well, you understand, when I started my career, there was no cell phone. So let's start there, Chris. So we've gone from, I'll give you a great example. The one thing I've done after every single game in my career up until February the 18th, 2014, was when the game was over, I would call my father. I never had a game. When I say never, ever, Montana Tech, doesn't matter. Now, most of those nights, we had to stop somewhere that had a payphone because there was no cell phones. So there was a lot of collect calls. It's because I didn't have change to keep feeding in the payphone. Our kids don't even know what a payphone is. You know, they know what a G11 is or whatever we're at now. But last night, so stopping in minus 30 degree weather, trudging through a parking lot at a payphone on the wall somewhere, till last night, we didn't get stat sheets. Everything was on the iPad. Are you kidding me? No cell phones to stat sheets on the iPad. That just tells you how far this is, just how far it's going to come. But we have guys that are good at it. You know, we pulled up a spreadsheet today on our fouling. That's something that we've gotten better at. At one point, we were 344th in the country, and the free throw rate teams were shooting against us. So we've gone from 344 in our first 8 games to since then we're down to 228. So who would have known in the early 1980s when I started coaching that someday, just with the click of 2 or 3 buttons, you can pull up how you're fouling, where you're ranked. And then, you know, the value of that is it's something that you can touch. It becomes an intangible that's tangible. You know, you can take it to your team. Like, I know where we're ranked, and this is how it's like, I'm a big efficiency guy. You know, raw numbers mean nothing to me. Everything is about defensive efficiency, offensive efficiency, and how we get to those points. Why is our defense so efficient? Okay, here's why. These are the areas we're good in. Okay, what are the areas that are keeping us from getting better? So we can take analytics and technology and create a picture that our kids can see, and they get feedback, and then the accountability, we hold them to make us good in those areas. It's just amazing. And that's why this is so refreshing for you know, an old goat like me, is I'm still learning. There's every day I learn. You know, it's invigorating, it's exciting for me to just learn. You know, stuff that people take for granted. I have you know, from a comparative analysis standpoint, that's a word I didn't think I would ever use. You know, all we had was a stat sheet, and you were lucky to get it after the game. Forget halftime. You didn't get stat sheets at halftime when I started coaching. You know, it was just your eyes. You know, what do they call it now? The eye. When they pick those bowl games, you have the eye. What is it? What word am I missing? The eye what?
The eye test.
Eye test. Yeah, my eye test was my analytics. Now I've got guys that so much smarter than me. I learned from my guys. Casey Beard and I were with the Canadian senior national team with Jay Triano, and he worked with Utah, Portland. And I wanted guys from the NBA on our staff. I wanted an NBA because I learned so much with Daryl Morey and the Rockets, and we've taken the things that I value and learned how to take them and put them in analytics so we can show our players where we are and how we improve and the areas we need to improve in. So when you ask me to evaluate our team today, what we're good at is what we're good at. That's visible. But the things that we're not good at, I can show you analytically where we are versus other teams and how we need to get better. And I think therein lies how we get better as the season goes on, because we focus on those areas.
All right. We got time for one more question if anybody has it. I don't see any hands raised. Is everybody good with Coach so far? Anybody? Okay. All right, thank you. And we got one more question. We'll go to Andy Yanez with the Cougars, and this will be it. And then Coach will do TV. Go ahead, Andy.
Kelvin, a bit of an off-topic question, but Greg Popovich recently came out that he's gotten his first dose of the vaccine. Is that something that you've considered yet or have looked into at this point?
I also have had my first vaccine shot, and I have to wait 28 days to get my second. And I echo Pop. That's if we're going to get on top of this in the nation, you know, even if you don't believe in it, I think it's something we need to do for our neighbors. You know, it's the scientists and the people that have worked so hard to get these vaccines ready and get them distributed to us as U.S. citizens. We need to take advantage of it. And even if you do get that shot, you have to continue to wear the mask. First thing I did this morning when I got in, you know, we got back last night about 1 o'clock because it was a late game. The game didn't start till 8. So by the time I got home last night, it was like 1:40. So as soon as I got up this morning, I had to come get a COVID test. We still get tested as you know, depending on our game schedule, as much as 3 times a week. And on top of that, we still take antigen test. But I think the plan is that once you get your vaccine shot, and I had my first vaccine shot, you have to wait 28 days to get your second vaccine shot. Then there was a period after your second vaccine shot that you have to continue to test. And then I can't remember the time period, it might be 2 weeks after that, then you don't have to be tested anymore. So I'm a big proponent. Get that shot. It's a piece of cake. You know, when I was a kid, I remember getting polio vaccines. They would take everybody in elementary school to the school gym, and they would give them in sugar cubes. You guys researched that. I couldn't figure out why we couldn't figure out how to get this vaccine distributed when back in the 60s, they would bring kids to the school gym, and we get in the line, they, one by one, they would just give us a sugar cube, and the polio vaccine was inside that. must have worked. I never got polio.